Right? And even just like the judgment, even just the way we've taught judgment, makes people leery of God being disappointed, of God judging against some people. What if he judges against me? The day of judgment is where I'm going to have to give an account for everything I've said and I've done. And God's going to judge me. That's not the day of judgment. Jesus said, the Father judges no one, but he's given all judgment into my hands. Then he goes on to say, guess what? I don't judge anyone either. He says, my word will judge on the final day. My word. The judgment Jesus came into the earth for was to reveal the truth about the way unto life so that people would live and not die. Right. That's his judgment. He looked at the two ways and he said, you know what? That way is the way unto eternal destruction. This way is the way unto eternal life. Let me now tell the people so that they don't die, because we've judged them worthy of eternal life. Yes. The reason Jesus came to teach us the way into life and to teach us the way that was unto death is because he looked at us even when we were dead in sin, and he judged us unworthy of eternal destruction. And he judged us worthy of eternal life. I love what Peter, I think it's Peter or Paul that said it to the Israelites, when the Jewish people, the Pharisees, when he was, it might have been Paul, he's preaching the gospel like crazy. And he says, but seems as you judge yourself unworthy of eternal life, I'm going to go on to the Gentiles. So, what did he say there? You judged yourself unworthy of eternal life. So the day of judgment is going to be the revealing, or the day of judgment is going to be where some people judge themselves unworthy of eternal life, and some people judge themselves worthy of eternal life. That's what's going to be revealed on the day of judgment. Some people are going to judge themselves unworthy of eternal life, and they're going to run and hide from God. Some people are going to judge themselves worthy of eternal life, and they're going to run into God's arms and say, Abba. So that's the day of judgment, right? Do you judge yourself worthy of eternal life, or do you judge yourself unworthy of eternal life? Are you coming into the throne room? Are you coming into the place where the tree of life is and eating freely, or are you running away from God? That's the day of judgment, right? I love how Paul says that. Seeing how you judge yourself unworthy of eternal life. Well, we know God already judged all humans worthy of eternal life because he sent Jesus to preach the gospel to the whole world. Not just to some people. That's the evidence that he judged you worthy of eternal life. Do you know why he judged you worthy of eternal life? Because he likes you. And he wasn't weighing your behavior in the balance when he was deciding if he likes you or not. God is not like a human where he decides whether he likes a person based on what they do or don't do. He's not like a human where he decides whether he's happy or unhappy with the person based on whether they're doing the right or the wrong thing. God is heavenly, and so he doesn't think carnally or devilish. And when God thinks about whether he's happy or not with the person, he's only thinking about, do they have eternal life or not? And he's not thinking, am I happy with their person? He's thinking, am I happy with the state that they're in? Well, how can God be happy if people he's judged worthy of eternal life are dying? He can't be happy with that, can he? Why? Because he judged them worthy of eternal life. So he's sad and crying if people he judged worthy of eternal life are dying. So what would make God happy or pleased? If people are living. Right? We've confused personhood and identity with the state of a human being. And we've made God like the most personally offended person that could ever exist. Whereby he looks at people's behaviors and they're very offensive to him. And he dwells in disappointment and dissatisfaction with people over what they do. That's not God, right? That's not God. God's never been confused with who we are. He's never been confused with his love for us. His love, the love he had in his heart for us was so strong, he couldn't deny it when he found us dead in sin and nailing him to a tree. He could have decided when we were nailing him to a tree, nah, I don't love these guys. I don't love these guys. But he didn't decide that. He couldn't deny the love he had in his heart. He couldn't ignore it. He was compelled by it. right? And so we want to start looking at that. When we think of whether God is happy or unhappy, or pleased or displeased, it's not talking about a person's identity or what he thinks of their personhood. It's talking about the state that they're in and whether the incorruptible seed of life is dwelling in them or not. That's why Hebrews says faith pleases God. Because faith causes a person to judge themselves worthy of eternal life. And when he comes on the last day to save all, those people are going to come to him and receive eternal life. And so it pleases him. Why? Because he doesn't take any pleasure in the destruction of the wicked. That's why faith pleases God. It's not like God sitting up there thinking, well, I'm very disappointed in all these people, but if they'll believe, then I will approve of them. No. It's that God is pleased with all people, but he doesn't want them to die. And he knows that faith is the only thing that's going to cause a person to judge themselves worthy of eternal life. And so faith pleases him because he wants all people to come to him that they might have life. Right? The scriptures actually say all that. It's shocking. It's shocking.